for the finale of How to Draw a Portrait. This is part 3. Part 1 was on sketching and part 2 was on inking. This time we are going to go over coloring. So let's go ahead and finish this thing. So the first thing I'll do is make new layers for all the colors, then use the magic wand tool to make a selection wherever I'll want the color for skin to be. Then I'll go to select, modify, and expand. And I always say expand it by 1 pixel, then fill it in with the paint bucket tool. This gets a really easy, even color. Then I'll do the same for the hair, lips, and eyes. Now we're going to start with the face. Make a new layer above the skin layer, right-click it, and select Create Clipping Mask. This will allow us to color on the skin without worrying about affecting the rest of the picture. I chose a darker version of the color of the skin I start with, and with a soft brush at about 50% opacity, I'm going to gently build up the shadows around the face, neck, and shoulders. If you're not using a reference, just think about how you want to contour the face and body. The darker the shadow, the further back in space it will appear. So, for example, if you darken the areas around the eyes a lot, it'll look like the person has deep sunken eyes. When coloring the neck, I like to make a selection around the area so I don't affect the face. So once I finish adding in some shadow, I'll keep the same color I was using and use the pen tool to add in deeper, darker shadows to bring in some depth. This usually is for around the face where the hair is in the way and around the neck where the jaw creates a shadow, or anywhere there may be a harsh shadow. I'm not sure if this blush technique would work for any other color than what I'm using right now, but I found that taking a very light pink color and then softly brushing it along the apples of the cheeks, then setting the layer to multiply at 50% really gives the face more definition and color. Next, I took a light version of the original skin color that I'm using and gently highlighting the face. Again, if you're not using a reference, highlighting does the opposite of what contouring does. Instead of making it look deeper in space, highlighting gives the illusion of things being closer. So if you highlight down the nose, for example, it'll make it pop out more. So you'll basically use this technique of contouring and highlighting throughout the entire image. I added a new layer for the hair and made it a clipping mask once more. I chose a dark color and using the same soft brush as before, I gently add in some shadows. As I add in the shadows and the highlighting, I try to follow the strands of hair that I drew in during the inking process. I also take the soft brush and add in some soft highlights using a lighter version of the original hair color. You can see that I'm using the pen tool once again to add in more shadows to the hair using the same dark color that I was using before. I also used the pen tool to draw in some of the highlights on top of the head using the same highlight color that I used on the hair before, but I end up changing the opacity for that layer down to 50 or 60% so that it looks a little bit more blended. Now I'm using a technique that I talked about in my How to Draw Hair tutorial where I basically take the light color and the dark color using a small brush to quickly draw in the strands of the hair. For the lips, I made a new layer and set it as a clipping mask. I chose a dark color for the shadow, and to contour the lips, I basically follow the middle curved line where the lips meet. I put a harsh shadow there, then gently add in the soft shadows around the edges and a little bit at the bottom of the bottom lip to make the lips appear plumper. And then I add in soft highlights, and for the lips, I usually don't add in too much of a harsh highlight unless I want it to look like the person is wearing lip gloss. For the sclera, I just add in some shadows to make the eye look round, and whenever I remember to do it, I like to add in some pink or red to the inner corner of the eyes. I don't really have a set way of coloring the irises, but in this image, I colored the top part of the irises a dark blue, and then the bottom parts light blue, and then blended them out on the sides. And now for the fun part. Make a new layer above all of your other colored layers and set it to color burn. Now, using the same soft brush, set your foreground color to black and go over all the shadow areas. This is basically going to intensify all the shadows. Make sure you don't overdo it though, just go in with a light hand. Once you're done, make another layer above all the colored layers and set it to color dodge. Now go in with a white brush and go over the highlighted areas. Again, don't overdo it. During this part though, I did add some cute, small, and kind of harsh highlights to the cheeks and down the nose. Oh, and don't forget about the little glares on the eyes, which are actually on a normal layer by itself. And that's it, you're done! If you try to draw using these tutorials, I'd love to see them. You can send me your work on my Facebook, Twitter, or on my website. I hope you enjoyed this series of tutorials, and if you did, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also leave a comment on what you'd like to see next. Have fun with your art, and I'll see you next time. Bye!